Yes, good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. It is Monday night, 7 p.m., becoming a bit of a usual slot. And happy to welcome Stel from Tottenham Away. How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, good. Had a cracking weekend. Sun's out as well, so people are happy, enjoying life. About time we had a bit of summer over here in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, good, Savva.
Yeah.
I'm good. I didn't watch the Spurs game because I just can't be bothered unless it's a team that's going to challenge us. Because I'm not going to learn anything otherwise. I want to see us play some better opposition.
But we'll get into that in a bit more detail. But it is funny because anytime a kid scores for Spurs at the moment, I'm seeing a million X accounts going, "This kid is the best." I saw one yesterday. People in the chat will know who I'm talking about. It was talking about is it Vuskovic? Or Velkovic? Yeah. And basically the strapline said this. It said his defensive box awareness is unreal for a 16-year-old. Spurs have got the best young defender in the world. And when you think, apparently we've got all the best of everything in the world. But hey, listen, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Big up to every single one of you. I will try and put as many comments as I can up on the screen. Any abuse will be blocked, as you know. Keep it football. Just do a few quick hellos. First of all, here is the link to subscribe. If you haven't already, please do. And please do get over to Tottenham Away and subscribe to those guys as well. That would be much appreciated. Big up to Haskenhoff. So, yeah, Arsenal go and get Calafiori for roughly the same as we paid for Archie Gray. Our transfer policy is dreadful. We'll get into it. We will. Big up to Tony Rodriguez. Hope you're well, my man. Big up Anthony Clark. You must be happy. Your team have just signed Calafiori and in the same hour announced that Emil Smith-Rowe is going. So you've literally paid about 10 million at the moment for Calafiori, and now you're going to go and buy other players. Milo's in the house saying this really excites him. I watched him play for Italy and he's still quality. We'll get into that. I did just go back and double check. I didn't miss anything, but it was 4 games in the Euros. No goals, no assists. So I'm not sure what that translates to, but we'll come back to that. Big up to absolutely everyone in the chat. Big up to George, always in here, always being really generous, really good for my channel. So thank you very much. Still, we'll get to some more comments in a minute. Look, Florian Plettenberg, who's almost like he's turned into the German Fabrizio Romano. We know we can trust him though, because he was the one that broke the news first last summer about Harry Kane. He has said, we haven't got a here we go or anything like that, but Spurs have concrete interest in Federico Chiesa. Let me ask you, Federico Chiesa, what do you make of it? What do you make of the details around him? Will we get him? Do you want him? Go.
Do I want him? Yes. It's a player I mentioned last month saying he's only 25 million euros, 20 million pounds. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's elite, but he stood out for me when Italy won the Euros. I thought he was a fantastic driver of the ball, can beat a man, certainly knows when to shoot and how to shoot, which I think we lack across the front three. I also think he's an intelligent player. He's got good technique as well. He's had some injury problems. Yes, last season was good, not amazing, but Allegri played him out of position, played him as a number 9. He's not a number 9. So I think he's over his injuries. I thought he was probably one of Italy's better players in a pretty poor campaign. I thought him and Calafiori were the best two, in my opinion, in the recent Euros. Look, Savva, I'm at a stage now where I've just accepted we're not going to sign brilliant players. We're just not going to sign players that win you trophies, okay? It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's going to have to be Project Youth, Project Punt, Project Fingers Crossed, hope for the best. So if we can get a player like Chiesa, who's better than what we've got in his position, I'm going to say yes all day long. So 20 million is less than half the price we paid for Brennan Johnson. It's half the price of Madison, who's injured for half of every season.
And you had to pause there to let that have dramatic effect. Half the price of a Brennan Johnson. That is absolutely mental, isn't it? I know. That's either he's massively underpriced because he's got a year left on his contract, or Brennan Johnson's overpriced. But I make you right. I think I've got to the stage now where I'm going to stop having delusions that we want to win things and just say, okay, maybe if they're just a bit better, that's what we are now as a club. Look, lots of things will be thrown at Chiesa, right? So a lot of people do talk about the injuries. He did have that 10-month spell out, which is a long time for any footballer. He came back last year, had, by all accounts, a good year. He got 9 goals in 33 games, and we'll bring up his details in a minute. A lot of people seem to really love this guy. Other people are saying, well, has he really kicked on from Euro 2020, which is obviously played in 2021? But he is better than what we've got. So where would you see him playing? Who do you want to see him playing in front of? And how difficult a deal? I'm going to put a bit on the end here for you and your favourite subject of Daniel Levy. How difficult a deal should this be to get done?
I think the only hard part is to persuade him to come to England. But in terms of getting the deal done, I don't see how this is difficult. We've made Timo Werner the second highest paid player at the club. You're telling me we can't pay Chiesa? We've got a lot of players off the book. The 4 most highly paid players, Lloris, Perisic, Ndombele, and there's one other, we've got rid of. So the wage structure is there to facilitate signing a player that might cost a bit of wages. I'd play him as a right-sided forward of the front 3, so where Brennan Johnson is, or I'll play him on the left. But he's got to cut in because he did that against Spain in the Euros when Italy won it, and he scored an absolutely sensational goal doing it. So good players can play in multiple positions, and I think he can. Not striker. He's not a striker. Allegri completely screwed up with him. So yes, I don't think this still should be complicated. And I play him anywhere in the front 3, but not the number 9.
Yeah, I mean, it makes for interesting reading because if we were to sign Chiesa, you've then got Brennan Johnson on the right. But from everything I'm seeing in pre-season, and it's sometimes really difficult to judge this, it looks like Kulu's going to be deployed more centrally. That's where he's played all the games so far. So you've got Brennan Johnson on the right. You've got Werner and Son on the left. So it kind of makes sense that Chiesa would be the balancing act on the right. Do you think that bringing in Chiesa still allows us to bring in a centre forward as well? Because we've got a lot of players there now that whether we think there's quality still, you've got Solomon, or Hill's gone. You've got Solomon, Werner, Son, Richarlison, Valise, Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski. If you then add Chiesa, it's a lot of bodies. Do you see there's still space for a centre forward?
There has to be. Richarlison doesn't ever score more than 12 goals in any season for any club. Timo Werner is abysmal. If I was to bring up the stats and shooting accuracy on this guy, he doesn't even make our under 21s. Yeah. Brennan Johnson goes missing in 80% of the top 10 games. So the big games where you've got to get top 4, get through a semi-final or win a cup final. He just won't turn up against those teams. Yeah. Solomon, I've got no idea. Valise, I mean, he's proven absolutely nothing since he's come to Spurs. And then that leaves us with Son, who, he's going to get goals, but every year we keep saying he's on the decline. So to not bring in a number 9, Savva, is criminal because I know we scored a lot of goals last year, but there's so many big moments in games where we're on top for 20, 30 minutes, which is rare, but we're on top. And we don't put teams to bed because we haven't got clinical finishers. So we desperately need a number 9. We've always had a number 9 throughout our history that's good. We listen. We can depend on the other attackers in the midfielders to contribute, but they're supposed to do that anyway. We need an out-and-out striker that's going to get us 20-plus goals a season, especially with Europe coming up.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting, and we'll get back to the striker bit a bit later. I mean, I think the key thing for me here is you've got Plettenberg is saying there is concrete interest. Ali Gold is saying there's zero interest, which is why I don't ever put these thumbnails out with Spurs are definitely signing, because I just don't ever believe it. You've got 2 polarizing opinions there, or bits of information coming out. My question would be this still. If I'm going to look at this, sitting on the fence, if Chiesa was our target, because Ange came out last week and said we're sticking to our targets, right? I didn't say that. You didn't say that. Ange said it, right? We're sticking to our original targets. If Chiesa was our original target, his club want him to go. He's got 1 year left. His agent's touting him about. He's going for like 20 million euros, 25 million euros. He hasn't been at the Euros now for 5 weeks, I think, since Italy were knocked out or whenever they were knocked out. Surely, if this guy was one of our main targets, this should have been signed, sealed, delivered, and he should have been on that plane to the Far East. No?
Absolutely. But we could say that about, we were meant to sign Tony, we were going to sign Eze, we were going to get all the business done early. Listen, Savva, I don't believe a word that comes out of Ali Gold's mouth or any other journalist when it comes to Spurs, because I just feel they're all mouthpieces for the club and they're just there to peddle out any positive energy whatsoever to try and keep the fan base on board, as opposed to actually independent critical thinking and actually questioning. The manager said A, but B's happened. Why? The manager said C, but Z's happened. Why?
Why?
None of that ever seems to happen. And that's good journalism. If the manager says A and A happens, to say that is good journalism as well. But it's almost like the manager says A, pretend he never said it, put out something positive. The manager said B, that didn't happen, put out something positive. I don't want positivity. I want honesty. I just let's be real. The manager said, I'm not happy with the front line. He's only signed Timo Werner. It beggars belief. The manager said that he wants signings done early. We haven't bought one player for the starting 11 to improve us. And the manager said he wants to challenge for the league title. But now we're being fed this narrative that it's about Project Youth and be patient. But what does he say that I'm supposed to just say, you know what? I get it. I see it, Ange. I believe it. And this is where I'm conflicted as a fan. And again, if you dare to talk about these things, you're just going to get labelled with every name under the sun. And the journalists, they don't do us any favours. I don't understand how they're quality journalists unless they properly. I think we do it. Again,
it's like Spurs' squad. It's quantity over quality in terms of the stories that are coming out. But still, the key thing for me here, right, is if I'm going to be cynical, and I like Chiesa. Again, I think, like you said, don't get me wrong, I don't think he sets the world on fire. I don't expect him to come in and be a bloke that gets me 15, 20 league goals. I don't expect any of that. I think he's an upgrade on what we've got, but not by loads. The concern for me here still is it's another player where, and again, Tony's been linked as well. It's another player where we're waiting until they got a year left on their contract. Jonathan David's another one, and then we're going, which leads me to believe when Ange is saying, "Oh, these deals are difficult," it's not in our hands. I'm really confused because when a player has 1 year left on his contract, that's not a difficult deal to get done, especially when they're 20, 25 million euros. So, is this just now what we're going to see, do you think? Like, is it literally going to be now everyone's going to be in the last year of their contract? Or do you think at any point we are going to go, right, Eze, bang?
I've got nothing against going after players who we can get on the cheap because their contract's about to run out. In fact, I'm all for it, Savva. My issue is if every player, that's the pattern, then the question I ask is that why we're signing them? Or are we signing them because they're the actual specific targets the manager wants?
Yeah.
Because if we're not going to target specifically what the manager wants, just shut the club down and just bring in the next manager and repeat the cycle.
Yeah. Just give it to Ryan Mason.
The inevitable, just get him in. It's going to happen eventually at some point.
Yeah.
But the flip side is, if these are the manager's signings, I'm really concerned about Andrew, the manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because these aren't winning league titles. I'm sorry. These players that we're signing are not winning league titles.
No, of
course.
Next season. Not any season for me. Of course. Jamie is here. And what I love this guy. He's one of them. You know, you get them all the time in your chat. They just hate you and say whatever. Brennan Johnson has more goals assists than him, but you hate him. Can I tell you, I don't hate Brennan Johnson, Jamie. I just don't think he's that good at football. We've got to take emotion out of it. I don't hate Brennan Johnson as a human being. I just don't enjoy watching him play. Now, the goal assist argument, I'll ask this question. Who are those goals and assists against?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
This is the key thing.
Exactly.
The big thing for me, and this is where I think a lot of Spurs fans, we can look at stats and that's fine still. But for me, when you're playing a top team, right, and their left back is whoever the left back is, I'm asking the question. In 90 minutes, forget scoring a tap in, right? I'm asking a question. If I'm a left back and Brennan Johnson is the right winger against me, how happy am I that Brennan Johnson is the right winger against me? Because he ain't going past me. He hasn't got the skill. His ball control isn't good enough. But then we get this. He's got goals and assists. Sure, loads of players have goals and assists that I wouldn't sign for Tottenham.
No, Jamie, right, this is where there's no context to what you're saying is being applied, right? Brennan Johnson, in 80% of the games against the top 10, I've said this about 1,000 times, home, away, and in cup games against the top 10, in 80% of games, no goals, no assists. He goes completely missing, as does Timo, as does Kulu, as does Richarlison. We've all got the similar level of stat on just going missing in those top 10 games. So you're going to, but you can only play what's in front of you. Correct. But when you get to an FA Cup quarterfinal, semi-final, final, you're not playing Nottingham Forest, you're not playing Burnley, you're not playing Sheffield United, you're not playing Luton Town. The teams that our attacking players score against, you're going to play City, Newcastle, Villa, Arsenal, Chelsea, and so on and so on. And in Europe, you're not going to play Genk, you're not going to play young boys, you're going to play AC Milan, Inter Milan, that level of club, right? So we need players that can perform against the top 10 in Europe and in our domestic league if we are going to be winners of silverware. He goes missing. He can't step up. And the reason is because his ability as a player, his comfort zone is the bottom 10. He came from one of those clubs. That's his comfort zone. He hasn't developed into a top 10 player. He simply has not. And when you look at that, there's no argument here. Now, if next year he steps up against Arsenal, Chelsea, and so on, come back on, and I'll sit and say he's progressed to the level we need. But as it stands now, none of them, not one of them, except for Son, is at that level. Facts.
I can't disagree with you. I can't. I want to. I want to sit here still and go, "Oh, shut up." But all year last year we said, "You watch when Johnson gets a goal, when Richarlison gets a goal, the goals are normally against the poorer teams because that's their level, and that's fine." And if you want a stat pad like that, but for me, again, this is where it comes to. You've got the manager saying winning mentality over here, right? You've got the manager talking about wanting to compete. That's fine. We love to hear that, right, Stel? We love to hear those positive things. But you've got to have the actions to go with it. We can't just keep saying, oh, well, the manager said we're challenging, so we are. You've got to upgrade. And when I'm seeing our front three start in pre-season, it looks weak. Sonny, if I'm really honest, Sonny looks like a guy now that is getting a bit older. He's always going to score goals. Yeah, he's finishing is brilliant, but his all-round game now, he's not in it as much as he used to be. He's not burnt. You know, he's not putting the afterburners on and going past fullbacks for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's fine, having their scoring. But then when the other two are Werner one side and Brennan Johnson the other, it doesn't really leave defenses that scared of us, does it?
I'll tell you what I will say though. Bergvall looks like a good prospect. I'm not going to jump on the Bergvall bandwagon. I'm not going to say, Bergvall's going to light up the stage and wow, what a signing. But just the brief moments I've seen of him, and it's not really against top opposition. I'm a bit gutted he came off against QPR injured because I thought that would have been a better test to gauge him. But what I've seen of him, technically so clean. His vision for a killer pass to break through defensive lines is there. His intelligence of game geography, where to be on the pitch, and knowing why he's where he is and where everyone else is really good. I see a player there. That's the kind of young talent I would want Spurs to sign. So I'm going to put myself out there a little bit here and say I think this is actually quite a good signing, but I'm not going to hype it up because I need to see him do it next season. But I think he could be one, Savva, that actually improves us. But I've got to see it though. I've got to see it, but I can see the signs there with him.
I like the look of him as a young player. You know how I am with all the young players. For me, I like to give them a year, give them 2 years, build, learn, grow. And the problem is the people putting them on that pedestal there, it's so difficult. Like Steve Perriman said the other day, you've got to stop putting them on that pedestal because they need time to learn and to grow. They're going to make mistakes. Like Bergvall the other day, wonderful on the ball. You could see though, got caught on the ball quite a lot. Again, and that's going to happen. He's a kid. He hasn't learned his decision-making process completely yet. But listen, I do agree with you. I just feel like we need a lot more quality. We need a lot more quality to come into this squad. And so far, the squad, I mean, you could argue we've let 11 players go and so far brought in Werner and Gray. And I mean, Werner was there last year. So essentially, we brought in Gray and Bergvall. So we need a lot more. Jamie saying, "Love the Premier League is a harder league than the Serie A." I don't know what that means. I don't know what we're talking about there. But listen, I mean, look, Chiesa.
You know this talk about the Premier League is a hard league than Serie A. I'm sure the Italian teams last season in Europe did better than the British clubs.
We do this every year. Listen, me and you have had this chat before. We do this every year.
So the Italian national team does better than the English national team. What we're doing is we're looking at them saying, oh, it's a bit slower, oh, it's a bit less physical. But when you watch the Italian league, tactically and game intelligence, they're ahead of us. They are ahead of us. So it balances out. I don't think we should just diminish the Italian league like that. You know, the Premier League's got the last year was one of the worst Premier League seasons I've seen. It was awful.
Agreed. The Italian league is actually getting stronger year on year, and it's more competitive. But people they always go, oh, it's slow. If you watch some of them, like watch Atalanta play football, they don't play slowly. Napoli might now under Conte, but Napoli didn't when they won the league under gone.
Was it? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Is it Gasperini? No, Gasperini's Atalanta manager.
It's gone. I've got his name there.
Atalanta destroyed and undefeated by Leverkusen in the final. Bayer Leverkusen won the cup. They won the Bundesliga, undefeated, phenomenal football team last season. Atlanta tore them to pieces in the Europa Cup final.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, by the way, this is the last message I'm going to put up of his. Jamie, the problem with you, why I find it really hard to take seriously, is if I had come onto this screen and said, I can't stand Federico Chiesa, you would have gone against some of the grain, against me, and gone, oh, Savva's always unhappy. Oh, he's brilliant. But now, because I've said, by the way, I haven't actually even said I think he's brilliant. I said I think he's good. And now we're saying that we don't want Chiesa because we've got Kulu and we've got Brennan Johnson. What are you saying, Jamie? Are you saying you wouldn't want Chiesa over Brennan Johnson? I'm just trying to see if I can...
But he's not listening. Jamie's not listening. Kulu has got more GA. I just explained to you. Kulu, Richie, Werner, and Brennan Johnson, their goals and assists are 80% against the bottom 10 teams. I literally just said that.
Yeah. And by the way, first of all, I love this. Look, Twisted Complex, you're clearly an adult, right? Us talking about a footballer isn't attacking him. This isn't personal. Yeah. When we say he's a good young player, I mean, isn't he 24 in a month or so? How young do we have to be before we can actually class them as seasoned pros? He's played for about 5 years for Wales, right? He's played in the Premier League now for a number of years. Surely we can't just keep saying young player.
I'll tell you what.
He's not for me still. Is that fair? He's not my type of...
I think he's bloody average, right? I think he's bloody average. When I do shows with Man United fans, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Newcastle fans, any top 6 fan, none of them were Brennan Johnson. Not a single one of them. And it's not bias. They're quite balanced fans. I would gladly take Saka from Arsenal. I'll gladly take Saliba. There's many players I take from Arsenal. There's many players I take from City. Maybe a few from Man United. There's players I take from clubs. None of them want Brennan Johnson. None of our rival fans say, do you know what? I love Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
I really, that's the, do you know what they say? They say, take Van der Ven. That Adogi looks all right. That's what they say.
Right. Absolutely. And that's how you can tell how good. Listen, I always think if you've got a footballer, by the way, before we discuss this, there are 408 people in here still and 104 likes. That's 1 in 4. We're talking Richarlison conversion rates right now. Can we please get this up to Sunny conversion rates? Smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, why not? Please do subscribe. We've had -3 subscribers in this show. That's what happens still. When you tell the truth, you get minus subscribers. Look, I always think still, when you look at a player, when you look at a footballer, if there is divide, if there is a big divide, I always think that gives you the answer on how good is a player or not. Do you know what I mean? Like right now, if you said Van der Ven, you're not going to find a Spurs fan that goes, I don't really like Van der Ven. He's average, are you? Exactly. Right? You're not. You're not going to find it. No one's going to say, oh, Sonny was a terrible signing for Spurs, right? Or can't score goals. We've got too many that divide it. Too many. If you go through Basuma, right? You can even go to Bentancur. You can go to Papa Sarr. You can go to Werner, Brennan Johnson, Solomon. You name it. These players split the fan base because they are good in some people's eyes, but they're not at the level needed to win things. Is that fair?
Yeah, they split fans as well because they're inconsistent. You know, one week you get a Basuma that you think, do you know what, he's so good on the ball. Another week, all he does is lose the ball, get caught out of position, and cost us goals. Pape Sarr, I haven't seen him control one game of football.
No, agreed.
I haven't seen him boss one game of football, but he's young, he's learning. I'd like to see where he's at in a couple of years' time. I think potentially he could become a really good player. Bentancur, inconsistent. The Celso always injured. Maddison goes missing half the season. It's when you do it week in, week out, that's what makes you a good player. It's that consistency. Sure. And you don't have to be good, by the way. I don't think Jordan Henderson was a particularly great player, but he consistently gave 100% and helped boss a midfield with Liverpool. So you look at his work rate and you look at what he does to keep that midfield moving, and you think, do you know what? You've got to give this guy props. He's putting in good performances. That's the sign of a good player.
If you're captain of a Liverpool team that win the Premier League and the Champions Leagues and FA Cups and League Cups, you are doing something right. The manager picks you every single game. You are doing something right. Let's just get to a couple of super chats. Before we do, sorry, Phil. Dude, I love you to bits, right? I do. But it's this level of thinking. It's this level of thinking, which is why we will never be a bigger club. Why is Chiesa the only level we can go to? I keep being told, we've got the best stadium in the world, right? We're winning the FFP PSR League, so we've got loads of money, right? We've got the best training ground in the world. Everyone loves the manager.
Are you telling me we can't convince Eze to leave Crystal Palace and join Spurs? Are you telling me we can't do that?
It's mad, mate. But people like Phil still, no offense, Phil, you're more than welcome to come on. They say these things because it's a coping mechanism. I look at this and go, Chiesa is a signing we should be doing, right? He's a good player. I think he lost his way a little bit due to injuries. He's a good player. That, for me, when he comes in still, no part of me goes, oh, my God, this is amazing. I say, yeah, that's a good signing. It's a good signing. Eze, I sign and I go, that excites me. That excites me. That's the guy who's going to get us off our seat. He's going to do the unpredictable. He scores. He assists. He runs at people. But this downplaying that now it's, oh, we can't attract these players. West Ham attract Mohamed Kudus. Newcastle attract Gordon and Isak and Botman. So why is this our level? Why can't we attract bigger? Where's this mindset?
It's the way we've been made to feel and think, and fans have just accepted it. I mean, there's a comment here from Daryl Denton, David Darrell. He said, for fuck's sake, Sarr's only 20. Where was Vieira at 20? Well, here's the thing. Vieira's proven that he turned out to be elite. He's proven it. Pape Sarr hasn't proven anything. So if I'm going to compare Vieira at 20 to Pape Sarr at 20, fair enough. But I wasn't doing that. I'm comparing Pape Sarr to now because I haven't seen what Pape Sarr is like at 24 and 28. I haven't seen that. So I'm looking at him now and I'm saying, good engine, but he can't control a game of football. He can't boss a midfield yet. Why would I compare him to Vieira? Vieira's proven it. Vieira's proven to be one of the best midfielders we've ever seen.
But still, we have a real habit of doing this at Spurs. We have a real habit of finding a player, latching him on to somebody who was absolutely brilliant and going, God, he's the new Vieira. He's the new Yaya Toure. Listen, I've got nothing against Pape Sarr. He's a decent young player who has still got a lot of time to learn, to grow, to grow into the type of player he wants to be. But what we do, that guy, whoever said that, I haven't got to that comment yet. What has he got to do with Patrick Vieira? Where was Patrick Vieira at 20? Well, at 20, no one I remember was raving about Patrick Vieira because we didn't know him. So why are we raving about Sarr? I don't get what we do, why we do this. You know, already Lancashire, God, he reminds me of Kane. He's going to be like Kane. Whoa, based on what? We've seen one goal in a pre-season game, and we're already saying he's Harry Kane. Like, it's madness still. We really, really don't seem to want to give young players any time before we put them on this pedestal.
We put everyone on a pedestal. Like, do you know what amazes me with Spurs? We don't ever make bad signings. Like, we can't ever make a bad signing. It's almost like all the 10 players every year that we sell, why are we selling them? Because they're not good enough. Well, that means when we sign them, they weren't good enough. But yeah, every player we sign, what a signing, we're building. I can see it halfway forward. Doesn't matter who the manager is. Doesn't matter what the thinking is for tactics. We never make bad signings. When we sign Emerson Royale, right? So here's the thing. The way Savva and I are talking about some players at the moment, for example, Timo, is exactly how we spoke when we signed Emerson Royale. Who is he? Never heard of him. I don't care if he played for Barcelona. And then after watching him for a year, we said, this guy's crap. Everyone hyped him up. Everyone said, oh, he's come from Barcelona. We hijacked this deal, blah, blah, blah. 30 million. He's cooking. Oh, look at Tottenham. The day it was announced that he's going to go to Milan, it was like a celebration on social media. Bye-bye. Thanks. You know, but where was that when we signed him and we said the same things we're saying about Timo? So it's almost like you cannot make a bad signing if you're Spurs. Only the other clubs make bad signings. We never make them. We don't ever make any bad signings. They're all perfect. They're all. You know.
But this is what I mean. Look, and again, you're right. What happens is if you try and discuss it properly, you'll get told you're negative. I'm negative. The funny thing about it is, come the end of the season, we won't be wrong. And that's the funny thing for me. So, like, I don't know if you saw yesterday, Estelle, it was brilliant. Yesterday, this guy said to me, absolute twat, this bloke. I'll say it on my own stream. Absolute twat. He turned around and he said to me, he was doing this thing that we keep doing. Oh, well, look at Arteta at Arsenal in year one. It's like, first of all, Arteta's going to be backed, right? And Postecoglou is not going to be backed. So I don't see why we keep grouping the two together. We've proven that already this summer. We're not going to back him, right? What he said to me was, what you love, Savva, he said, you love it when Spurs fail, so you can say you're right. He said, you don't want us to succeed. I turned around and said, if I don't want us to succeed still, why am I demanding better footballers? If I don't want us to succeed, I will praise Timo Werner. Yeah? If I truly want Spurs to be crap, I'll sit here and go, still, aren't we lucky to get Werner on loan again? But demanding better players is seen as moaning. And it's breathtaking. I've never known a fan base like our fan base for, like Phil just summed it up just there. Phil just summed it up for me. I love Phil, I do. But again, it's that, but we can't get better. Why? Who told you that? Who said we can't get better?
If we want to fail, why are we leave you out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, mate. It absolutely makes me laugh.
6,000 days today. 6,000 days since we last won a trophy. 6,000. It must be all those brilliant signings, all those fantastic transfers we've made that have created that.
Yeah. Listen, by the way, if we take this back to Sarr, for example, I don't know what Papa Sarr might be in 2 years still. You don't know what he might be in 2 years. He could be brilliant, or like the thousands of youngsters every year that get praised that just fall away. Now, we all hope that all the young players go to that level. We all hope that they're world class. The problem is we're talking now like, I saw this video the other day. I can't even remember who it was. It was Spurs are building. I think I sent this to you. Spurs are building like an academy machine or a world-class academy machine. You know, when you sit there and you think, could we wait still for maybe one of these youngsters to break into the first 11 and play every game before we predict that they're all world-class and going to be generational Ballon d'Or winners? But when I ask for that, oh, you're negative. Just enjoy them. Enjoy what? Enjoy what? They're not playing football. How can I? They're not playing for us.
When the season starts and maybe two of these kids feature, then we'll see what's what about the kids. When only two of them actually get game time, we'll see what's what. Because if you think we're dropping Basuma, Sars, Madison's, Timo, Johnson, the wing backs, if you think we're dropping any of these players for the kids, it's for the birds. And if you think that we're going to do that in the Carabao Cup and get away with it, you're off your rocker. Because unless we draw against Blackpool or Marine FC, then yeah, play the kids. But if we play a championship team or a Premier League team in the cup, if we don't go full strength, we're losing that game. History repeats itself all the time with us. So I don't see how these kids are going to get the minutes at Spurs to develop. I don't see where it's going to come from without us either blowing our chances of getting to a cup final or another season without top four, which I don't know how many years Levy accepts that before he sacks managers. So, you know, we've got a hotel to build. It's going to cost money. We've got luxury. I'm not saying this as a Levy out chant. We have to pay for these things that we're building. That money has to come from somewhere. We don't have Champions League revenue. So where's it going to come from? It's going to come from us having to do well in cups, having to get back into the Champions League. And that means you can't be playing the kids. It's not going to happen. This has always been my argument, Savva. For every kid that, right, Lancashire, who do you honestly think we're going to drop for Lancashire to play 90 minutes?
I agree. I completely agree.
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. But realistically, is that what's going to happen?
I agree. And this is the difference between pronouncing them as the best young players in world football before they've actually done anything. If people want to sit here right now and talk to me about Lamine Yamal playing right wing for Spain and Barcelona at the age of 16, sure, I wouldn't have a leg to stand on to say that this kid couldn't be amazing. But can we wait? Let's see. How many 90 minutes will Mikey Moore get this year before people want to call him generational? How many 90 minutes will Devine get? Lancashire, Donnelly, Phillips, Dorrington, right? We don't
just to give you guys an idea, right, Savva, just to give you guys an idea. I get to speak to people at Spurs in the academy. It's through my work. I've got such good contacts. I am telling everyone today from within the club, I found out Alfie Devine wants out. He wants out. He loves Spurs being there. He's really happy being at the club, but he's extremely unhappy that he's not getting any look in to the first team. He wants out. Now, that's one player where I've got a contact to confirm that. I would suggest many of the others will be of the similar mindset. Not all, but many. And this is the problem we're going to have now. If they're that good, and these kids believe they're good, they've got agents, they've got parents, they've got teammates that they play with for their international youth countries that are getting game time. They're going to want that. They need it. A footballer's career is only 10, 15 years. They need game time. So if we're not going to give it to them, and there's been no guarantees or confirmation from the club to Alfie Devine, he's going to get those minutes.
Yeah.
They're not giving him that. So the guy wants out. I know this from inside the club. Today it was confirmed to me. So this is why I'm not getting all hyped up, Savva, because I just don't see who we're going to drop. Because these kids are going to make mistakes. Like you said earlier, Bergvall lost possession of the ball, but you get it. He's a kid. if we did Project Youth last season in Angie's first season, and that's what we went with, everyone would have got on board with it and said, right, this is a complete reset. This is a direction.
Yeah.
Takes 3-4 years. If we finish 8th, if we finish 10th, who cares? It's part of the process. But to finish 5th, having spent 230 million, and the manager say, I want to challenge for the league next year, how do you sell this? And if you're a young player and you see Timo being signed, why on earth are you going to stick around? That's another place gone. If you see Bergvall, Ashley Phillips, kids that aren't even from our academy being signed, if you're the academy player, why the hell are you going to stick around? This is the reality, guys. This is the truth of how this system works. So this conversation of, oh, look at this future army of kids we're building, generational, it's mental. It's absolutely nuts.
Mate, I completely agree with you. I am somebody, I need proof. I need facts. I need evidence, right? As I keep saying, I can turn around and I can tell my wife, next week we're going to the Bahamas. She'll go, show me the booking. Don't worry, I've done it. No, show me the booking. No, I've done it. Show me the book. Right? Too many people. This is what I mean. I love it. I almost love it now when people are like, Savva, you're negative. Savva's never got anything positive to say. That comes from the club doing something positive for me to react to. Yeah. If the club right now announces we've signed Ivan Toney, I'm going to turn around and go, good signing. Good. By the way, I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm not going to start talking about winning a league, but I'm going to say good signing. If we sign Eze, I'll go, fair play. You've gone and got a really good player when you had to actually put some money down. Yeah. But don't expect me to get excited when I see, oh my God, did you see Donnelly's cross in a pre-season friendly? Sure, they're footballers. They're football. They might be young, but they're still
against the K-League best 11.
Right. So for me,
I
think we need to look at that, right? And I agree. Bergvall, Gray will get, I think Bergvall and Gray will definitely get a lot of game time because we paid for them. Mikey Moore can't go on loan because of his age. So I would expect to see him being introduced. But again, what we can't do is if he has 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there, if he has 20 minutes where he scores, we go, oh my God, he's generational. If he has 20 minutes where he does nothing, we go, God, he's shit. He's a kid. You've got to let him grow.
So Savva, the only player I've been told from inside the academy that's going to get the minutes, as in is guaranteed practically, who's going to get the minutes is Bergvall. The rest, even Mikey Moore and Archie Gray, it's not guaranteed. They'll probably get a look in, but Bergvall's the one that's probably going to be in that first team regular.
Yeah, for me, I can see it. But again, I think it's almost a sad indictment that he'll start a lot of games. And I'm not knocking him, but you would think a club like Tottenham would have a really good midfield that he should really struggle to get into. Do you know what I mean? Like if he goes to Liverpool, he ain't starting. If he goes to Arsenal, he's not starting. If he goes to City, he's not starting. At Spurs, I can see him getting a lot of games. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing for development, but it is an indictment of how poor a midfield we've kind of put together. I want to go through some super chats and some comments that I thought would make me and you laugh still. So first of all, go on.
I just want to correct one thing. There's a guy called Adam Phillip who said Bergvall ain't an academy player. When we signed him, he was signed into the academy. So yes, we didn't develop him, but he was brought into the academy when they signed him. So when I say academy player, I'm just talking about the ones that we developed. I'm talking about the ones that were brought in. So the Phillips, the Feeneys, this young kid Yang from Far East, Bergvall, they were brought into the academy as under 21. So that's just to clarify what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I don't think this is true at all. I don't think you've been listening to what Stell's been saying, if that's the case. I think what you've got to realise, Sonics, is it's all right after I see loads of this when I get posts from X sent to me because I'm not on X. I see loads of people every time one of our youngsters scores a goal in pre-season. What we don't say is, how promising is he? We take it 15 levels up still. This guy is generational. This guy's world class. If he keeps developing like this, all right, how many kids throughout the years have scored goals in pre-season games? Right? It doesn't, Scarlett scored a worldie last year against Shakhtar Donetsk. Then goes on loan to Ipswich. Couldn't get a game. And that's the thing. You've got to, let's wait for them to get there. Let's have a look at some of these comments here. Boom. So big up Jamie Allen, who said, I agree with your points against Johnson, but in his defence, he was playing left wing for a lot of the games. In my opinion, he's more effective on the right. Jamie, I'm not even talking about when he's on the left or the right. I'm talking about his ability as a footballer, his touch, his control, his ability to beat a man, his ability to cross properly. For me, I don't make excuses like this. He's a pro footballer, yeah? And most of the time, he was on the right. But thank you, Jamie. I really do appreciate that. Mika Johnson said 3 of the last 5 UEFA Champions League winners are Premier League. I mean, how far do you want that stat to go back? How far? I mean, we could say in the last 20 years, aren't like 11 of them Spain? We can all fit a narrative, mate. Last year, though, I didn't see any English teams doing anything in Europe other than Aston Villa, who got to the semis of the Conference League. So, hey, it is what it is. Big up, Mika. I really appreciate that. Mate, when I said Newcastle, I think what's happened here still was when I mentioned that Newcastle managed to get Isak and Gordon and West Ham got Kudus. I didn't mention anything about we should be finishing above those 2 clubs. We should be. I don't know what that's got to do with anything. I feel, again, for me, Eze is a level above Chiesa in everything he does, if I'm completely honest. He said, our stock has fallen as a club because lack of ambition from the owners and not winning a trophy for so long.
I think this is an interesting one because with Chiesa, he's played for one of the biggest clubs in world football, Juventus. He stood out in an Italian team up against some of the best teams in European football. So in that sense, you could say, well, hold on, Chiesa's proven more. However, Eze has consistently stood out in the Premier League for a couple of years now. So at the level that we're playing at, Premier League level, Eze's proven he can cope in this environment. So it's a difficult one with these two. Who's better? He's better. For me personally, if I had to pick one, and I'm a Chiesa fan, I would pick Eze because I've seen him destroy Man United. I've seen him destroy an Arsenal team. Yeah, Palace lost, but Eze away at Arsenal last season was probably the only player Crystal Palace had on the pitch that actually did anything. So I think I would take Eze because he's got the Premier League pedigree. But it's you can look at this from a lot of different angles. Who's better?
Of course you can. But for me, I just don't like this whole notion now fits into Phil's narrative, right? It's we can't sign better players, so we should be grateful with what we've got. Well, hang on. We were told we were moving stadium to buy better players, to compete. Now that's all done and we've got money, we're now told, oh no, we can't get better. I fail to believe that. I've just seen a comment I really want to bring up, which I just think is absolutely pathetic. And I'd love Neil to come on and debate this with us. You two do realise what you say makes no sense. Use youth, you say. Then you say get established players and then say getting established players block to the youth and you wonder why people think flip-flops. Neil, first and foremost, think your own sentence through, right? If you are, I've said, if you're going to play the youth because fans are calling them generational, play them. But if you actually listen to what I said, young players should be introduced to teams slowly, unless they are a cut above the rest, i.e. Kobe Mainoo at Man U, better than anything they've got in midfield, goes straight in, right? I.e. Phil Foden at Man City was that good, straight into the first team. I'm not saying don't play any youth. I'm not saying play them over first teams. If we want to be a top team, Neil, you do both. If we want to be a top team, you bring in quality, right? And then you bring in the youth slowly but surely. And Neil, most of our youngsters will end up on loan in the next 3 weeks. Most of them will end up out on loan because unlike the fans calling them generational, it makes sense. They need to go and play men's football and get minutes. So when you're saying flip-flops, I'd love you to come on because this is, sorry, Still, I don't know what you think. This for me is a really stupid comment. I think this is a stupid comment.
First of all, nobody calls me a flip-flop. I stick to everything I say when it comes to Spurs, right? So that's number one. Number two, I've said, if we're going to do Project Youth, do it. Tell the fans we're going to do Project Youth. It's going to take 3-4 years, and we're going to take some hits along the way because that's the process for them to become men and play men's football. I've got 12 years experience in bridging the gap from youth to adult. Then do that. But the manager said he wants to challenge for the league next season. You're not doing that with the kids. Sorry, it's not happening. Maybe 1 or 2 kids, okay. But 5, 6, 7, it's for the birds. That's my point about the youth. If you're going to do Project Youth, do Project Youth. But expect to finish 8th, 9th, 10th, if we're lucky, every season for about 2-3 years. And then we'll see a big jump if they, step up. But that's not what the manager said. The manager said he wants to challenge for the league next season. So the contradiction, the flip-flop, is coming from our manager. Ange is the one that's flipping here.
Yeah.
I don't know what he wants. I don't know what he sees when it comes to, if we're going to challenge for the league, then sign quality players that are going to challenge. If we're going to build a future team full of youngsters today that will be the men tomorrow, stop this talk about the league title, man.
Right.
Pack it in. That's my point I'm making.
But do you know the funny thing still?
Well enough. I hope you understand now.
At no point have I said every kid should play. I'm literally sitting here saying kids need time. Kids need to be nurtured, right? Kids need to learn from top pros. So I'm happy to see Bergvall and Gray get minutes this season. Should they be the first 11? Not in my opinion. In my opinion, if we're a club, and like you said, Stel, the manager is talking about winning mentality and winning leagues. Sure, then buy players that do that and then introduce the youth players slowly. How do other clubs bring through their youth players? How do Liverpool constantly seem to be bringing through youth players whilst having quality on their books? So it's just Spurs that can't do it. I don't understand what's really... 2 of these, 1 of these. Honestly, the best thing my mum ever taught me, Stel. 2 of these, 1 of these. It absolutely baffles me how people have taken what you said. Yeah. And again, this is another guy I'll call out who chats absolute nonsense. Brennan slander. Why is it slander if you don't rate a footballer? Huh?
We've explained the GA twice already on the show, Swonks. If you've just joined now, go back to the first 15 minutes about the GA, and then it'll clear it up. I'm just repeating ourselves now. We're just saying the same thing.
The funny thing is, though, mate, we'll get to next summer, and whatever happens, it'll be for the process. You'll be like, well, what? Listen, I love it. I love when I'm called a flip-flop because I don't think I flip-flop on anything. I think the problem for me being called negative is the fact that I don't flip-flop.
Every year we win nothing. Every season we say we're not good enough. Every season we prove we're not good enough because we win nothing. We are right every single season. Every single year we are proven right that we're not good enough. Where's the flip-flop? Where is it?
John Michael, when I see this a lot, we're definitely going in the right direction. Based on what? I said just now, John, I talked about evidence. Based on what from and to, what shows we're going in the right direction? Because so far, I'm seeing a summer transfer window where we haven't signed a single player that strengthens the 11. Striker said a fit Chiesa would be a good signing. I agree with you. I think it would be a good signing. Again, it's about keeping players fit. Had the chat about Neto on my video this morning. Neto, no one's doubting Neto's ability as a footballer, but the best ability is availability, right? And the man makes 46% of games in the last 3 years. No, Malachi, mate, they don't listen. This is the thing. They hear what they want to hear, right? And the thing is, last year, when I was trying to tell people Spurs will finish 5th, and I was still told then that I'm wrong, and the manager says we're challenging and we can still win the league. I said 5th the whole season, but I was still wrong. It just makes me laugh. Foxy said Chiesa's injuries weren't as bad last season, but you need to take into account Juve had no Europe. He loves being injured around Christmas time as well, by the way.
He was also played as a number 9. He's not a number 9. It's a bit like what Spurs are doing. We're playing Son as a 9. He's not a 9.
Again, Joseph, I'm doing the endless moaning. Mate, we want better. We want the club to do better. It's not my fault. If you're happy with never winning anything, I'm all for it, mate. You knock yourself out. Look, for me, as I said, I think Chiesa, to bring it all back, let's have a look at some stats, Stel.
So I don't get this. The endless moaning. You're moaning that we moan, yet you watch people moaning. Sorry, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right. Let's have a look. Sorry, where is it? If we go to here, if we have a look down here, you can see he's had an interesting career. Sorry, if I get to his career statistics. He's not prolific, but it's not the worst goal scoring record I've ever seen. If you look at his time at Juventus, what is he? 98 league games, 21 league goals. So what's that? 1 in 5, roughly, just under 1 in 5. It's not the best. It's not the worst. This is why I don't think he kicks us on to the point where Ange is talking about winning titles. I think he's a good player, but there's nothing there that I look at there that I think this is a real top level player. Is that me being harsh still?
No, he's not. We've said that at the start. He's not a top level player. But is he better than what we've got? The one thing I'll tell you Chiesa will do is when we play those top 10 teams, Chiesa will turn up. He will give us more than what we get from Timo and Brennan Johnson and Kulu. He will give us more. And that's what I want. I'm not worried about Spurs playing the bottom 10. I have no concerns whatsoever. Luton, Burnley, Nottingham Forest, whoever's in the bottom 10, I don't even know. I'm not concerned. Spurs will beat them all. At worst, we lose one, we get a draw. Okay, it doesn't bother me. It's what we do against the top 10 because we were horrendous last year against the top 10. Absolutely horrendous. Mm-hmm. And that includes Fulham. Because Fulham finished mid-table. They were just about in there, in the mix for top 10. Yeah. We lost away to Fulham in the Carabao Cup. And we got battered there in the league as well.
Agreed.
My concern is even Wolves, who finished mid-table, they battered us twice. That's what I'm worried about. It's those games. If we can't win those games, this is where it all goes wrong. This is where it unravels.
No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, listen, we hear this all the time, don't we, Red Javi? Monitoring, concrete interest, we'll see. Listen, Twisted Complex, again, I'll say you're a grown-up, right? Us talking about Brennan Johnson, it doesn't mean we don't think everyone else isn't very good. We're talking about Brennan Johnson. He was a £50 million signing. I don't rate Timo Werner. I don't rate Solomon. I don't rate Kulu as a winger. Very important to put that as a winger. I don't rate Brennan Johnson as a winger. For me, the only top quality winger we've got is Son. He is the only top quality winger that we've got. So when we're saying many others were much worse, what are we going on? Are we going on because he got a few tap-ins? Because for me, when I watch him as a player, I just don't think he's... Look, Twisted Complex, let me ask you this. What do you want Spurs to be? If you want Spurs to be a Champions League team or a team that wins trophies or a team that challenges, is Brennan Johnson your guy? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Before sticking up for players through thick and thin, ask yourself, does that player make it in a team that wants to win things?
Look, if you think Brennan Johnson's good enough, fine. Ignore what we say. Pay no attention to our opinions on Brennan. Ignore it. That's it. Simple. Ignore it. And next season, you can tell me how well he does for us, and come back on at the end of the year and tell me how great we were with Brennan Johnson. And then that'll be the decider. We're just going to end up going back and forth. I think he's bloody average. I think Brennan Johnson is a bloody average football player. At least Chiesa can beat a man. Chiesa will cause havoc. He'll cause problems. Do you know what? Do you remember Kulu when he first joined us, Savva?
Yep.
Chiesa will give us something more closer to that, in my view. He'll give us what Kulu first gave us. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Might not get lots of goals. He'll get a couple, but he'll cause problems. He'll pull players out of position. He'll beat a man. He'll create overloads. He'll open up the game for his teammates. He'll feed the ball to them. That's what he brings to us. That's why I want him, because Brennan Johnson can't do that. Timo Werner can't do that. All they do is get to the byline and smash it as hard as they can into the box and hope someone gets on the end of a ball, and 1 in 5 come off. The others, off the pitch, the other side, over the crossbar, into someone's shin pads, hits them at the waist. It's like pinball.
But the thing is for me as well is I always go back to this. If I'm a top left back, I don't mind playing Brennan Johnson. I am not worried. He's got nothing to worry me. I mean, if I'm a top left back, if I'm Nathan Ake, right? I'm Vardiol playing there. You know, Calafiori, who's just come in for Arsenal, will play off that left-hand side. If I'm Ben Chilwell, if I'm any of these name a good left back, right? I'm not worried about playing Brennan Johnson. This is a winger who I know, all right, if he scores a tap-in, he scores a tap-in. But for a winger's job, for a lot of the time in the game, is what does he do out wide? And Brennan Johnson, for me, isn't good enough. His crossing isn't good enough. And I just can't believe we have fans that tell us we're negative but want to watch average footballers.
Do you know what my question is? My question to these fans would be this. We bottled 2 FA Cup competitions last year and we bottled top 4, right? So no cups, didn't even get past round 2. 1 game a week, no European football to deal with, and we finished 5th. For us to finish 2nd or 3rd, let's be realistic, we're not winning the league, to finish 2nd or 3rd, to get to a cup final, how do we do that then? What needs to change for that to happen? I want to hear the answer from fans. I want to know, because my answer is buy better quality players.
Simple.
Buy better proven. That's your answer. That's my answer. So these fans that dismiss what we say because we're moaners, okay, how do we do it then? Tell me, how do we do it?
Mate, no one's got an answer. I don't care who you are, right? There is only one answer as to how teams get better and start competing. Quality. You've got to add quality. There's no cheat code to this. There's no cheat code to how teams suddenly go up. Man City didn't get to where they are and stay where they are by a cheat code. They got it by by buying quality players. Arsenal, Arsenal, there's no coincidence that Arsenal are now challenging every year because they're buying better caliber of players. Liverpool. When did Liverpool win the league and the Champions League? Oh, funnily enough, when they started buying top quality footballers. This isn't rocket science. But all of these people that want to call it negative, surely they're the negative ones still for constantly wanting to watch average footballers. That doesn't make you a better fan, does it? Does it make me a better fan to say, oh no, Brennan Johnson's one of my own, I'll support him through thick and thin? Sure. Doesn't make Spurs better.
I'm not going to say a player is quality just because we've signed him. Arsenal fans slammed Nicolas Pepe for a couple of years. Arsenal fans said, who was that short guy they bought from Italy who played in the midfield under Arteta first couple of years, then they shipped him out?
Oh, is it Luke Torreira?
Torreira, right? They said he's not good enough. Why is he at Arsenal, right? They questioned certain players. They've got rid of those players. They questioned having defenders that weren't good enough. They changed the defenders. They questioned whether the goalkeeper was too risky in terms of error. He was too high risk because of errors he made. They changed the goal. They questioned their own players, saying, look, the problem is these players, who's the one they bought? There's a wing back. Was it Traore? Tavares? Yeah. Tavares. They said, why have we signed him? He's not good enough. They signed a player recently, Vieira. They said, look, Vieira, he's too flimsy. What's he doing at Arsenal? They're going to ship him out. Arsenal fans question their signings. Man United have questioned a lot of their signings. But if we do it at Spurs, we are literally the devil. We are literally Satan in disguise if we dare question any of our players. But the other clubs, they're allowed to do it. And they kind of had a point. But if we dare say Timo this, Johnson that, Pape Sarr, is he really that level yet? If we dare question anybody, you don't like Tottenham, you're a gooner.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
I've always grown up wanting better, wanting more. You know, in my field of work as well, I wasn't happy being the person that was there in the relative league table for selling things. I was always like, how can I get to there? Right? How can I get these incentives that other people are getting? What can I do? Our fan base, we've kind of turned into, oh, it's okay. Well, Brennan Johnson's all right. Sure, Brennan Johnson's all right. If you want to finish where we finish, Brennan Johnson's, Timo Werner's, they're okay. Right? We were 25 points behind City and Arsenal. That gap doesn't get made up with Brennan Johnsons, with Timo Werners, right? With Basumas, with Bentancurs, it gets made up by going, where are the game changers? Who are the game changers? Arsenal go out and bring in Odegaard, right? Declan Rice, what a season he had for Arsenal. Our fans sitting there last season still going, Declan Rice, 100 million. We got Basuma, he's much better. I mean, that's where we're at.
Do you know what? Arsenal sign a washed out Willian and they go crazy. What have we done? What are we thinking? We sign out a washed out Timo Werner. Good bit of business, makes sense.
Agreed.
Will help us in Europe.
Mate, absolutely. Look, let me go. Let me quickly go a few comments I want to read out. Foxy has said, Savva, don't forget Chiesa, no shots on target either in the Euros. The fact he's offered to every club for cheap and everyone's passing tells you everything. His dad was his dad was phenomenal, by the way.
Because he's got 1 year left on his contract and he's refusing to sign it. That's why he's cheap. He's refusing to sign
I get that,
contract.
but there is a lot of talk. I'm sitting on the fence here. There is a lot of talk that his agent's offering him out all over the gaff, and many people aren't. We'll see. But we'll find out in the next 3 weeks what Chiesa does. DB has said, okay, I'm in. You were the chairman. You have 200 million. What's the plan? Let's get look, the problem. And then he said, and don't say it's not my job. Look, if we want to sit here, DB, and play football manager, right? We can do that all day long. For me, I just want to see if Spurs have 200 million pounds, go and buy 4 players that walk straight into our 11 and that take us from there to there.
I'll tell you what we do. I'll tell you what we do, Savva. We signed Manu Kone from Rich and Gladbach, who's going cheap. Perfect hybrid 6'8", top player. We signed Kvaratskhelia, creative forward attacker. We signed Eze, proven Premier League dribbler. And we signed Ivan Toney, something different up front. There's 4 players, 200 million. There's your answer. That 100% puts us into the top 4 and it gets us to the latter stages of a cup if they stay fit. There's your answer. There you go. Now what's the excuse? What are you going to tell me now? He's shit. He's crap. No. Yeah. What are you talking about? So it doesn't matter what I say. Either you say, do you know what? Actually, they're quite good players. Yeah, that pushes Spurs forward and it's for 200 million. Or you just hate what I've said and you're going to tell me, have faith in Timo, have Brennan Johnson. Where do you want to go with it? You know,
But mate, still, I completely agree with you, and I completely agree with you. Rude boy sound, completely. We don't always agree, me and you, but I completely agree. The problem is Spurs every window are signing 7 players, 6 players every window. We are signing. So you had now the players in January. We're signing 7 to 8 players a year. What we need to get to the stage is to go right. Okay, what 4 can we add quality? Then promote some of the youth. Add 4 quality players, 4 players from the first team that essentially drop down in terms of being rotation players. And then you bring in the Mikey Moores. You could bring in a Lancashire, a Dorrington, and Ashley Phillips. But we don't. We buy 6 or 7. We buy quantity, not quality. Just want to go back to some of these comments. Eze was at QPR because he wasn't quality. QPR to Palace is an example of players that hasn't come through. He only began his climb to more than bottom half quality last season. I can't begin to tell you, Stel, how much I hate this comment. Sorry, Eze was at QPR because he wasn't quality. So no quality has ever come from lower league teams. Dele Alli came from MK Dons. Was he rubbish when we signed him? Andy Robertson was at Hull. Andy Robertson's now gone on to win everything whilst being one of the best left backs in the country, if not Europe, for the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I mean, we can't do this still, can we? This is the most disingenuous comment. I think he's only begun his climb to quality last season.
Let me tell you what changed for Eze at QPR, Robert.
Wow.
Chris Ramsey was the Spurs Academy head coach. He was a phenomenal coach. He played a big part in developing Harry Kane, and he was part of that team Sherwood that pushed Harry Kane into the first team, okay? So we owe a lot to Chris Ramsey for Harry Kane's development and the player he became. Unfortunately, like always at Spurs, things go tits up and we lose good personnel. And Chris Ramsey ended up going to QPR. He became the academy director there. Eze is a protege of Chris Ramsey there. So Eze's leap came when Chris Ramsey went and started spearheading the development of the players over there. So that was the kind of fundamental change for Eze, I think, which is a bit of luck because you don't know who's going to be your coach or academy director. But that's more what happened. So, you know, but a lot of youth football is luck. It's timing, staying fit, an opportunity coming for you, taking the opportunity. You know, if you think of Harry Kane, if Soldado wasn't the wrong signing, and if Adebayo wasn't a mercenary and we were literally screwed, we had no one up front, Harry Kane wouldn't have had a chance. Harry Kane would never have been given that moment to say, right, here you go, son. So timing, luck, it plays a part in things for a player to make that leap.
Still, Scott M, bang on. It is funny, isn't it? How I'm seeing the opinion of Eze change now that it's looking less and less likely he's going to be a Tottenham player. And still, this is the fan base in a nutshell. This is the fan base in a nutshell. When we sign a player, right? When we sign a player, oh my God, we scout, he's brilliant. A player doesn't come to us, he didn't fit our system anyway. We didn't. This boy is class. Let's not beat around the bush. If Eze moves this summer and ends up at Arsenal or City, there's a reason he ends up at one of the first or second place clubs out there. It's mad. Our fans will go to any lengths.
These same fans, if we do sign him, will say marquee signing. They'll just flip. They'll go up from not being good enough to marquee signing. You see, he does back the managers.
Mate, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. Let's have a look at a few more of these comments, and then I will push you over to Stell's show at 8:30. First of all, please never use Chiesa's name in the same sentence as David Ginola. This for me is blasphemy. Also, the difference in football between now and then, David Ginola was a winger in a 4-4-2. Back in those days, wingers weren't scoring 15, 16 goals a season. Back in those days, wingers were creating. They were getting back, getting forward. Nowadays, the wingers play in a 4-3-3. Please don't ever do that again. That is a blasphemy. Swanex has said, nobody is saying worship Brennan. What I'm saying is you're glazing of players like Kudos, even though Brennan had a better season despite it being slight patchy in times. Swanex, huge difference. First and foremost, when you say a better season, right? First of all, Brennan Johnson plays for a much better club than Mohamed Kudus, right? He plays for a much better team that played in a more forward-thinking manner. Mohamed Kudus, is any Spurs fan going to tell me they would rather Brennan Johnson than Mohamed Kudus on the wing?
He had a better season based on what, Swamp? What are you measuring that on? If it's goals and assists, we've spoken about that, right? What are you basing that on? Because I tell you this, and here's the difference. Brennan Johnson splits fan opinions. Everyone at West Ham is happy with Kudus. Every West Ham fan, you say, yeah, Kudus, man, he's a good player we've got there. You speak to Spurs fans about Brennan Johnson, some say good, some say shit. Why is it we're split on him? But Kudus, every West Ham fan, yeah, so glad we got him. I'm going to base it on that. That's my metric.
So I just want to say, right, first and foremost, Brennan Johnson got 10 assists and 5 goals. It wasn't the end of the world, but again, most of it against the rubbish, right? Kudus, who plays for a much worse team, got 8 goals and 6 assists. So better at what? Because Kudus's goal output was much better, right? Brennan Johnson had more assists. One plays for West Ham. Still, who are you taking on right wing? You're not taking Brennan Johnson over Mohamed Kudus, are
you? There's people saying West Ham have lower standards. So I'm guessing Paqueta, he must be shit. That Paqueta's awful, isn't he? What a terrible player. What low standards to sign Paqueta. Jared Bowen. Oh, terrible. Jared Bowen, Savva. Oh, such low standards. Awful standards.
Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah, Van Dijk played in Scotland, so he couldn't have been very good, could he? It's absolutely mad. I mean, I don't listen to anyone who uses words like
Van Dijk, right? If people are going to say Van Dijk, because he's played in Scotland, he's horrible, and so's our manager, because he came from Scotland.
Right, there we go. There we go. Absolutely. Let's have a look. We've got some more super chats as well. First of all, Robert said, which 6 players have Chelsea signed? I don't know what you mean by that.
Chelsea are in the mud.
What do you mean? Chelsea at the moment are looking very quickly like they're never going to challenge again if they don't change their format. But what they're doing is very similar to what we're doing. They're buying loads of kids. Difference is their kids mostly get sent out on loan straight away. They're buying kids, whacking them out to Strasbourg or wherever across the world. But I don't know what that's got to do with anything, if I'm brutally honest, Robert. Sorry, I don't know. A user said, Tony not going anywhere as Igor Thiago is injured. Well, we'll see. We'll see. What that will do is make it a lot more difficult.
Savva, I don't think Spurs personally are going to sign Eze. I've got a feeling he might stay at Crystal Palace because the manager there is good. And I think he might just persuade him for one more season, especially with Elise going. And I think some of the signings he's made are very interesting. I've got a funny feeling Eze might stay there unless someone breaks the bank 80, 90 million. I also think Tony will probably stay. I don't think Spurs actually want him. And I also feel that Chiesa will stay in Italy. I want all 3. I will say yes to all 3. I don't think we get any of them. I think the Chiesa one's more because he wants to stay at home. But the other 2, I don't think Spurs actually want Tony, personally speaking. And Eze, I don't think we're going to spend the money, Savva. I don't think we're going to spend the money because they when they had Zaha, they dug their heels in. No, we want 75 mil. Get out of here. I don't see us paying the big bucks for Eze. I don't see Spurs doing it. That's my opinion.
Mate, I don't. And I think when you look at it, right, if we really truly wanted Eze or Tony, for me, still they should have been done by now, right? The excuse of the Euros, that's gone now. That the Euros ended 15, 16 days ago. The Euros are done. By the way, guys, we've got 7 more minutes left, so please do smash that like button. We should be on 300 likes. We're only on 225. Let me go to some super chats so I don't forget them. Benito Sotelo, big up to you. I said most of these Happy Clapper. Let me start that again. Most of these Happy Clapper fans are the same ones sitting in the motel chair watching their missus do one. I'm not going to mention anything about that, but thank you so much. Look, I don't think people are happy clappers, but what I do think is there's only so much we can praise the same thing with no reward. But big up to you. VCats said, big up for the excellent show. Need more of this. Listen, we'll always do more of this. Big up to you. Thank you so much. And Jamie Allen has come in and said, in my opinion, I feel like teams outside of Europe are trying to overprice their players. And that's one of the reasons why it's been a slow summer. I do agree we need much more quality in the squad, though. Jamie, my problem with this, I keep hearing from people that there's no money in Europe, right? I'm watching Milan, Leipzig. I mean, you name it. Everyone's signing players. Every day, if you follow Fabrizio Romano, I Google Fabrizio Romano every couple of hours just to see what he said. And it's constant, this Italian club, that German club, this French club, signing. But it always seems to be a slow summer for Spurs. It's always, it's us. So I'm really not sure what's going on there. Look, still, it's crazy. Bobby Andrews, big up Bobby, said, serious question for you. If we don't sign a striker, what's your preference, Son or Richie? For me, Kulu isn't a 9, and fans are deluded mentioning it. And I would keep Lancashire over Valise.
I can't stand Richarlison as a football player.
Me neither.
I absolutely can't stand. He's one of those shit. I'll give him his props. When it comes to set pieces and headers, he's a very useful player. Probably the only one we've got that can convert. But on the ball, linking up the play, striking a ball, his general presence. Guys, I can't believe he's at Spurs, man. I can't believe we spent that kind of money on a player of this low quality. There's a reason this is the worst Brazil we've seen in 10 years, and he's part of it. There's a reason. He hasn't even touched Babetto's Romario. Do you know, I'm never going to get into this. No, that wouldn't say that. I'd keep Son as the 9. I'd give Lancashire some minutes. Maybe even Valise, but I mean, look at the options we're getting given here.
Yeah,
big club, big six club.
Yeah,
I've got to go. By the way, so I've got to.
Yeah, no, I know you've got to go. Listen, you jump off. I'll wrap up for the last couple of minutes. Stel, thanks so much. Everyone knows where to find Stel. And I have redirected over to Tottenham away, all 400 of you or whatever, in 5 minutes when we finish.
Thanks, Savva.
Stel, thanks so much. I'll speak to you later. Cheers, mate.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Again, listen. I just think again this shows complete lack of football understanding. If we're saying if two of West Ham's three are so good, West Ham's team overall isn't good enough. Hence why they're trying to make signings this summer. I think if anyone in football is seriously telling me they would prefer Brennan Johnson to Kudus, you've got to stop watching football. It's not even an opinion. It's madness. Yeah, madness. Absolutely madness. Kudus is 10 times the player he is. Look, Palace. What I like about Palace, they know what they are. They're a club that they know they're going to lose their best players, but they do recruit well. I think Decore, who missed most of last season, really good player. I mean, Wharton was a very good signing for them. Again, they bought him, stuck him straight in there. Really did really well. I think Kamada's a very good signing. What was it, 3 million or a free transfer, something like that? Absolutely brilliant signing for them. By the way, that doesn't mean I think they're better than Spurs. No. I'm just saying for them, for where they are. So many attacking plays break down with Richie's trampoline. I completely agree with you. Yeah. So if Son produced 27 goal assists with a striker in front of him, no one would talk about Son's decline. I don't think it's a decline. He's just getting older. It's just natural. You get older, you lose things. You lose your pace. You lose a lot. I don't think he's not declining. He's just not able to do the things he once was able to do. Yeah, exactly, Jarrod. Exactly. We spent 110 million on those two, but we got fans in here liking them. So, if Johnson was more of a 1v1 dribbler, he'd be so good. That's just not part of his game. I don't know what his game is. I don't know what it is. You just have to use your eyes to watch him. He's not that good. Guys, mate, Barry Disdain, it is madness. The Spurs fan base is mad. We've got a crazy fan base. We convince ourselves that some truly poor footballers are very good because they wear a Spurs shirt. I can guarantee, right, if Brennan Johnson played for West Ham, we'd be saying how bad he is. That's just how it is. Aaron Lennon was a much better footballer than Brennan Johnson. Absolutely much better footballer than Brennan Johnson. He scared the crap out of fullbacks. He scared the crap out of them. So, yeah. Hey, it is what it is. Yeah, free transfer, Kamada. Brilliant bit of business. No, but Twisted Complex, the funny thing is, I heard this last season, the season before, where I judged exactly where Spurs would finish both seasons. It's common sense after a while. That's the problem. It's common sense after a while. My point isn't that Brennan is world class. I'm not sure why Brennan gets so much hate. He's just not very good. I just don't think he's a very good footballer. Listen, if you like him, you like him. But Swanex, we've seen over the last week or so, you do rate a lot of very average footballers, my man. Can we compare Ronaldo and Nazario? God, what a player. What a player he was. Yeah, I remember this as well. I remember this. Oh, I wouldn't. Yeah, I know. Shocking. Hey, it is what it is. Guaro said, Kudus stats are poor. No, they're not. Why are they poor? He got one less goal or assist than Brennan Johnson playing for West Ham. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I can see we've got some crazy people in now. We've reached that time on the day. And this is now a troll, so we've got to get rid of this person. Sorry, the trolls are going. I've got to the stage, guys, and goes, well, I can't be bothered with these trolls because they're absolutely idiots. Agreed. Absolutely, Oryx. Absolutely. Son used to be way more ambidextrous with his feet. Nowadays, he hardly uses his left. Agreed. Even when you watched it at the weekend and you're thinking, take your man on, cut inside. Take your man on, cut inside. So for me, I think that Sonny is he's still the best forward we've got at the club. But that's a really sad indictment for me that we've got to a stage where Son is still the best player and no one is anywhere near him. The gap between them all is massive. Yeah, QPR have always, since I've been a kid, always produced some good players. Twisted Comment said, calling fifth isn't hard. It's where we hang on, Twisted Complex. When you're saying calling fifth isn't hard, last year I was told that we were going to win the league or finish second or third and win cups. So last year I was called negative for that. Now, it wasn't hard for predicting that. Well, which one is it? Come on, man. Come on. Everybody, I'm going to leave it there. We've got to the stage where there's some absolute crazy people in the chat. Big up, everyone. Take care. Please smash the like button on your way out. I have sent you over to Stell's channel. But please, can we smash the likes? We are on 258. We should be on a minimum of 300. If you haven't pressed the subscribe button, please do. We're quickly getting back to that 13,000. We're only about 180 away from where we were, so we're growing quickly again. Take care, everyone. Hope everyone enjoys your evening. See you later. And come on, you Spurs.